20 Funny Animation Movies. Animation has long been a staple of Hollywood productions, and it's easy to see why. Although sometimes very expensive, it is a form of filmmaking that can often appeal to different ages. Some of the most iconic and critically acclaimed animated films appeal to adults and children alike. While Disney and Pixar have long been noted for their ability to achieve this feat, a number of other animation studios have found the key to making an animated film that can be both funny and well written. 1 of 20. The Simpsons Movie. If ever there was an animated series that is truly an American cultural institution, it has to be the ever-evolving and seemingly timeless The Simpsons. Not content with being confined to the small screen, in 2007 they finally got a big screen spotlight in the aptly titled The Simpsons. The brilliance of this particular animated film lies in its ability to take everything audiences love about the show and expand it in a way that feels authentic in feature film form. Its brilliant humor and an incredibly moving adventure with one of America's favorite families. 2 of 20. The Lego Batman Movie. Given the significant box office and critical success of the Lego Movie, it was inevitable to get a spin-off, and the funnier result was the Lego Batman Movie. Unsurprisingly, it focuses on the title character and his efforts to thwart the Joker. Undoubtedly, what makes the film so funny is Will Arnett's vocal performance as Batman. It's a great send-up of Christian Bale's growing affection in Nolan's famous trilogy. There are also so many callbacks and Easter eggs for Batman fans that it's impossible not to fall under the spell of the film. 3 out of 20. Hercules. While Hercules may not be seen as one of the best films of Disney's Renaissance, it is undoubtedly one of the funniest. This is partly due to the presence of Hades voiced by James Woods. Woods gives the ominous god of death a gruff style that's unique among Disney villains, but that doesn't detract from his truly sinister character. The film also features one of the smartest and funniest love interests, Megara, as well as comedy great Phil Octet's voiced by Danny DeVito, the brash and reckless mentor. The film's humor, along with its unique aesthetic, make it an underrated Disney gem. 4 out of 20. Robin Hood. Disney's Robin Hood has the misfortune of being released in the 1970s, during one of those periods when the studio experienced a bit of a slump. Fortunately, it continues to be loved and adored by generations of viewers who have been charmed by its sense of humor, evident in musical numbers such as The Mock King of England, and the undeniable charm of the title character. Plus, it's impossible not to laugh at the raucous laughter of the evil Prince John, portrayed by the late Peter Ustinov in what was to become one of his most beloved and endearing roles. 5 out of 20. Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Rabbit Rabbit. It's impossible to deny the charm and wit of the characters Wallace and Gromit, who finally got their feature film desserts in Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. As the title suggests, the film focuses on the title characters as they have to fight a giant rabbit that destroys the local crops. Part of the film's humor comes from its clever references to Hammer horror films, but that's because it's quintessentially English. It certainly helps that it has a very talented cast including Ralph Fiennes, Helena Bonham Carter and the late great Peter Sallis. 6 out of 20. Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse. There are few superheroes more popular than Spider-Man, and like many crusaders, he has taken many forms over the years. One of the most notable recent Spider-Man movies is Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, which manages to stay true to many of the classic Spidey stories while branching out in some new directions. There's a sense of satire in this film that helps set it apart from the previous films, and the textured and kinetic animation style is truly remarkable. Shamik Moore is perfectly cast as Miles Morales, capturing the character's spirit and sense of humor. 7 out of 20. Emperor's New Groove. For quite some time, Disney's new Emperor Groove has flown under the radar since it arrived in the post-Renaissance era. However, it has recently gained a significant following and is popular for its hilarious dialogue and skillful vocal performances by the likes of David Spade, John Goodman, Eartha Kitt and Patrick Warburton. There's a satirical fever to this film that never lets up, and it's remarkable how it can kill a film. The established Disney formula even as it also manages to capture so much of the studio's unique brand of magic. 8 out of 20. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. It's quite a heavy lift to take an established franchise and make a story that somehow feels fresh and new, yet this is exactly what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem achieved. Unlike many other iterations of the story, this one actually has the central foursome act like the young teens they are, and this helps to keep the film light on its feet. It's also a remarkably well-written film, with lots of funny lines and great villains. What's more, it also features a remarkably sophisticated visual design. 9 of 20. Chicken Run. Even though it has been a bit forgotten except by die-hard animation aficionados, there is still much to recommend Chicken Run. It's one of those stop-motion films that manages to be very funny and thought-provoking, focusing as it does on a group of chickens desperate to keep themselves from getting turned into pies. Much of the humor derives from slapstick, not unusual for stop motion. Still, there's also a rich and almost radical feminist and Marxist edge to it, which helps to elevate it above many other more banal and less adventurous animated films of its era. 10 of 20. The Lego Movie. The Lego Movie is one of those delightful animated films that combines a strong story, bright and colorful animation, and brilliant voice acting into an enormously enjoyable cinematic experience. Indeed, it is precisely the film's sense of humor and its deft writing that help elevate it above many of the other animated films released simultaneously. It somehow manages to take the familiar cultural icon of the Lego and turn it into something new, exciting, and fun. It boasts a truly extraordinary voice cast, including Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, who makes for a very good villain in the form of Lord Business, and Elizabeth Banks. 11 of 20. Finding Nemo. Pixar is indisputably one of the powerhouses for animation, and in Finding Nemo, the studio managed to hit the sweet spot between hilarious and touching. Its story about a clownfish who sets out on a perilous journey to find his son is quite touching, but there are so many deft comedic touches that it's impossible not to laugh. And who could forget the remarkable vocal performance from Ellen DeGeneres as the absent-minded Dory to add to this? The film is quite simply gorgeous to look at, a testament to the heights animation can achieve. 12 of 20. Madagascar. After emerging as an animation powerhouse in the late 1990s, DreamWorks continued to burnish its reputation and its successes in the following decade, thanks to films like Madagascar. It's essentially a fish-out-of-water story focusing on a group of zoo animals who end up in Madagascar. It also features some heavy-hitting comedy voice talent, including Chris Rock, Ben Stiller, and David Schwimmer. What's particularly refreshing about this film is that it never takes itself too seriously, it aims to make the audience laugh and allow them to have fun. It more than succeeds on both fronts. 13 of 20. Kung Fu Panda. Jack Black has repeatedly shown that he is one of the funniest actors of his generation, which applies as much to his voice work as his live-action adventures. In Kung Fu Panda, he lends his voice to the character of Po, a panda who must learn the arts of Kung Fu to become a prophesied warrior. The film is the perfect combination of slapstick and sly humor, and it is buttressed by the usual brilliant DreamWorks animation and by a voice cast that, in addition to Black, includes Jackie Chan, Dustin Hoffman, and Angelina Jolie. 14 of 20. Shrek. There are many reasons to enjoy Shrek, one of the best films ever produced by DreamWorks. Among other things, it features a strong voice performance from the ever-talented Mike Myers in the title role, who is joined by several other fantastic actors, including Cameron Diaz and Eddie Murphy. Even now, 20 years after it first hit cinemas, Shrek maintains its power to make audiences laugh, particularly since it is so skilled at skewering the various conventions associated with the animated film, particularly as produced by Disney. It's easy to see why it was popular enough to spawn its own franchise. "15 of 20. Turning Red. One of the best things about Pixar as a studio is its willingness to use animation to engage with meaningful topics. In Turning Red, the studio gave audiences a touching and hilarious story about Mei, a Chinese-Canadian girl who begins to experience the family curse of turning into a giant panda once she reaches adolescence. It has all of the energy, vivacity, and humor one expects from a Pixar film, but there's also a whole lot of heart here, particularly when it comes to Mei's relationship with her mother and the other older women in her family. As with the best animation, humor can be used to tell a remarkable story, sophisticated and philosophical story. 16 of 20. Ice Age. As the first film in a franchise, Ice Age has some heavy lifting to do, and it more than succeeds. Focusing on a trio of animals, woolly mammoth Manny, ground sloth Sid, and Smilodon Diego, it follows their adventure as they try to return a baby human to his tribe. It manages to exceed all expectations, primarily because of the witty banter and the chemistry among the three vocal leads, Ray Romano, John Leguizamo, and Dennis Leary. It's also a remarkably well-written comedy, and it manages to keep the audience in stitches even as it also has some moments of genuine emotional warmth and depth. 17 of 20. Toy Story. Given just how powerful and prominent Pixar is in 2023, it's hard to remember a time when it wasn't a part of the film landscape. Although much has changed and animation has grown more sophisticated, there is still something endearing about Toy Story. Part of its staying power comes from its undeniable sense of humor, and it's still fun to watch Woody and Buzz feud with each other. There's also so much heart in this film that it's impossible not to fall under its spell, and it's easy to see why the studio continues to make movies about this classic duo. 18 of 20. Fantastic Mr. Fox. Although much of the acclaim for Wes Anderson's directing understandably focuses on his whimsical live-action films, he deserves just as much praise for Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's a brilliant piece of stop-motion animation, and it manages to capture much of what made Roald Dahl's original novel so compelling and captivating. It certainly helps that it features an embarrassment of riches when it comes to its voice cast, including such heavy hitters as George Clooney, Meryl Streep, and Jason Schwartzman. Even though it is often quite funny and light, it also has strains of darkness, which is very much in keeping with the Dahl aesthetic. 19 of 20. Aladdin. As the fourth film in the Disney Renaissance, Aladdin shows all the signs of a studio at the height of its artistic powers. It has all of the classic ingredients of a great Disney film: catchy songs, a sinister villain, a powerful heroine, and a lovable hero. It also has Robin Williams, whose vocal performance as Genie is arguably one of the late actor's best. He keeps the movie from ever getting bogged down, and he has some of the funniest lines. As so often with Williams, however, he also manages to give Genie a soul, which helps to explain why he remains one of the best Disney characters. 20 out of 20. Zootopia. Disney certainly hit it out of the park with Zootopia, arguably one of their best post-Renaissance films. Featuring the voices of Ginnifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman as Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde, it has some sparkling wit, fun dialogue, and a ridiculously charismatic central duo. It's one of those films that hits the right mix between being funny without being ridiculous and, like all of the best Disney movies past and present, has a surprisingly thoughtful and resonant message about the dangerous power of stereotypes and assumptions. It also deserves respect for being willing and able to move outside of the traditional Disney model.